News Radio 700 WLW.
All right, back with Eddie and Rocky. Maybe we should trademark that. Eddie and Rocky.
I'm sure your wife has already done it.
No, I'm sure that iHeartMedia's already done it.
Yeah.
And we ain't going to cut.
We're not getting anything.
They're marketing the hell out of that.
Yes.
All the koozies
Money
and T-shirts and all that stuff.
Yes, lingerie wear.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, the girls are clamoring for that. But it's funny that people think of trademarking stuff.
They do, but and sometimes
you would never
hear,
suspect, right?
Yes, a lot of times there's instances you hear where people do it, and it's like, oh my God, they're making a lot of money. I heard just recently, not that long ago, but I don't know, I think within the last 5 or 8 years, someone patented "Play Like a Champion Today." Right? I went to Notre Dame, and the famous sign there, the thing, and it's like for the longest time, no one had patented it. Someone's like, I can grab the rights to that and put it on shirts and stuff like that. And in this case, we're talking about Angel Reese, the famous or infamous WNBA player, and she set the single season record for rebounds, right? Which is good, but a little side note is she misses a lot of shots and she gets her own rebounds. So people kept kind of as a insult to her, started calling them Mebounds because she's rebounding her own shot. And so she's now trying to flip it and trademark that to be able to put that on hats and coasters and T-shirts, whatnot. Can she do it?
Well, let's talk to our expert about it. Always love having this fellow on the show, John Rizvi. He is the patent professor. John, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, always a pleasure to be here. And the Mebounds kind of term reminds me of, we're all a little bit older. So when we grew up, we were selling candy bars door to door, right, for fundraisers for school.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, someone would win the contest, but you find out later that their parents bought 20 chocolate bars from them. And you'd say, wait, that's not fair.
Totally.
So, yes, in terms of Angel Reese and her record for rebounds, if a lot of them are from her own shots, then that kind of takes away from the glamour of winning. It's your own missed shots. But she filed for a trademark.
So, John, how let's talk about that. How easy? Because some of the on the list here, let's get ready to rumble. I'm not surprised that's trademarked. The
three-peat.
I remember that somebody talking about that being, but that's hot. Remember when that was the thing with Paris Hilton when she was
Richie
when she was popular? Oh, that's hot. So that's trademarked. I bet. How tough is it to do this stuff? Obviously, not very.
Well, the big mistake that a lot of people do is you can't just take words out of the English language because you want to use them. You have to have some kind of commercial purpose. You have to sell some goods or services associated with the name. And if you do that, and if there's no consumer confusion, meaning nobody else has something that the Trademark Office believes has prior rights, then it's not that difficult to get a trademark. I mean, in the case I expect, unless I've never heard of another Mebound mark, but the Trademark Office is going to do a search, and if nobody else is using it in those categories that Angel Reese applied for. Now, she applied for it for clothing, for footwear and headwear, and potentially digital content. So if nobody else is using it in those categories, then it should be approved for her. You mentioned Let's Get Ready to Rumble. There's just the licensing fees from that trademark were over $400 million. So there's a lot of money potentially to be made. What makes this somewhat unusual, Angel Reese's situation, is it's not a mark that she coined, and it's really an insulting term that that people coined for her. And I just think more power to her to take something, take lemons and turn them into lemonade. And she filed for the trademark and intends to profit off of the recognition and the branding associated with the Mebound trademark.
Back to the Let's Get Ready to Rumble. That of course, was Michael Buffer's famous line as he introduced a big-time heavyweight fight. Is he the one that trademarked that? Because I had heard, side note, I mean, he was his fee for coming and saying that line was a lot of money. Was he successful in patenting that?
Yeah, I don't know if he trademarked a lot of money, but I do believe he's the one that trademarked "Let's Get Ready to Rumble."
No, yeah, that's what I was saying. He trademarked that, so that has been successful for him. So,
go
ahead.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And what about "You Cannot Be Serious"? That obviously, that's the old John McEnroe thing from the tennis match. I forget what match it was when he's screaming at the umpire, "You cannot be serious." Now, do we know if that was McEnroe that did that, or somebody just said, "I like that. I'm gonna"?
No, it was John McEnroe. But you bring up a good point. So that's why these celebrities, if they say something that ends up catching on, they really need to be vigilant and file for it as soon as possible, because in the United States, trademarks are on a first to file basis or first to use, and if they don't file, then they could potentially lose rights to somebody else, even though they're the ones that coined the phrase. There's no ownership or exclusive rights just because you say something first or because you make something well known. You actually have to file for a trademark. Or you could also get rights by starting to use it, but not use it just as language, but use it to start selling goods or services.
So let's dive into that. Let's dive into that a little more. So is it literally first come, first serve, or if I tried to patent Mebounds on Monday at noon, and Angel Reese, who it's like her kind of phrase, it's attributed to her, she files it on Tuesday at noon. Do they give it to me, or do they give the person who is associated with it any kind of consideration?
Unless that person who's associated with it has sold or offered to sell some goods or services using that phrase, it's first to file or first to use. So if she's not first to file or first to use doesn't mean saying it. It means, trademark law is to protect businesses and commerce. It means, are you using it in commerce? And there's a big controversy, if you remember, a few years ago with Donald Trump. And it's funny because there's a lot of controversy with him, but I'm not going to get into the rest of it. But as far as trademark law is concerned, he trademarked the phrase "you're fired." And a lot of people are like, hey, wait a minute, like that's a word of the English language. How is an employer supposed to let someone go if they can't say those words? So trademark law doesn't take words out of the English language. And Donald Trump was only able to get that phrase because he was selling goods and services using "you're fired" as a catchphrase, as a trademark. So it's again, that's the big catch. You can't just protect it because you said it first. You have to end up using it in commerce, selling goods, selling services, and somehow associate it with money exchanging hands somehow. Otherwise, it's just, you get to maybe get credit for saying it first, but you can't stop anybody else unless you have a trademark application filed.
We're talking to John Rizvi, the patent professor. So, John, I think Rock and I are both fascinated with the ins and outs of all this. Let's say I'm announcing a high school football game on a Friday night, and I start the thing off on the PA and say, "Let's get ready to rumble." And obviously nobody's going to come down on me, but by all rights, could somebody make me pay X amount of money for that?
Oh, you could be subjected to a cease and desist.
Okay.
And that's why you may have noticed around the Super Bowl, a lot of bars and restaurants, they won't use the term, especially the large, every once in a while you have a mom and pop operation, call it Super Bowl night or something.
Right.
But others are referring to it as the big game. Or come here for game day, and they're dancing around. They don't want to say Super Bowl because the Super Bowl is a registered trademark of the NFL.
So do you know, in the history of the NFL, have they ever sued some bar or any entity for calling it the Super Bowl?
Oh, I don't recall any specific cases. I know for a fact they have, absolutely. Wow. And that's why this deterrence effect is in place. That's why others are saying, hey, we don't want to face these lawsuits, so let's just call it the big game. or the game or somehow dance around it, and everyone knows they're referring to the Super Bowl, but they don't want to say it. And of course, the NFL is able to trademark it because it's clearly used in commerce, right? They sell goods and services using that. Where it gets tricky is where somebody just happens to come up with a phrase, become famous for it, but has not filed for a trademark, and also has not commercialized it, has not used it to sell anything or associated it with anything. And it doesn't have to be, it could be a brand of T-shirts, for example. It could be novelty items, whatever. But, I mean, in the case of Angel Reese, she has, like, clothing and footwear and headwear. But you've got to come up with some products that you're going to associate that brand with, your slogan with, and then you can get protection for it.
All right. Well, John, again, just fascinating stuff, and the fact that I'm going to have to start calling out some of my catchphrases.
So that's the thing is, if you knew something was going to become catchy, you would do it, boom, right away. But it's almost like by the time you realize, hey, this is onto something,
right,
some knucklehead out there has already filed for the patent, and you're screwed. And
well, let me ask you this, John. Finally, here, how much does it cost to file something like this? I mean, it's not much, right?
Yeah, so it's not a lot of money. I mean, typically for under $1,500, you can file for and get protection on the name. So a lot of people might be under the mistaken belief, like, yes, if I'm Pat Riley, I can afford to trademark, but it's not. It is something that's accessible for the average Joe. Of course, the likelihood that the average Joe is going to have something they say like catch on used to not be really prevalent, but now with social media, you never know. I mean, it's just if something you say takes off and your video goes viral and something that starts catching on, you need to fork out the $1,500, get that protected as soon as possible before somebody else does, and then you're sitting by the sidelines seeing them profit off of a coin that you created, or a term that you coined.
All right. With that, John, we will let you go. People want to find out more about you. Where can they go?
So we're online. Our trademark is The Patent Professor. So you can find me on all over social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. The Patent Professor is our handle. Our website is thepatentprofessor.com.
John Rizvi, thanks so much, buddy.
Thanks. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, John.
Take care, buddy.